Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, created by Carlton Cuse and Graham Rowland, based on the characters by novelist Tom Clancy, had its series finale last year in 2023. Very quick aside, because I don't want to forget. Tom Clancy, I looked him up like when I'm into like a show or a movie or like a book, and I may not know the author, the writer, the creators. I look them up usually like to follow them on Twitter or Instagram, and just to see like what they're up to, what they're working on currently. And I did that with Tom Clancy, being that this is a character that he developed, that he created, and has like a bunch of novels about him. And I found out that he died in 2013. And since he died, he's put out more content, whether it be films, shows like this one, and books. And at first I'm kind of like, yeah, I guess it kind of sort of makes sense if you create certain characters and you have like a large backlog, your estate or something can like license out the content, and one of your older books could be adapted into a movie or a TV show, etc. I thought it was like that type of deal. But then I found out that's not the case, and that since he's passed, again in 2013, he's put out over a dozen new books. Or not he, because it'd be like physically impossible. But he built out such a well-known IP in like his name, Tom Clancy, and all the characters that he's created, and like Jack Ryan, for example. But also different like series of like movies and shows like The Hunt for Red October, starring Sean Connery and Alec Baldwin, Patriot Games starring Harrison Ford, etc. That his name alone is the Tom Clancy name, like it became an entity essentially. And the publishing house has other writers that since his death have written under the Tom Clancy banner, if you will, but under the Tom Clancy name. So it'll be a new book by Tom Clancy, but it's really written by Grant Blackwood, Mark Cameron, Dick Couch, Mark Greaney, and Mike Madden, probably amongst others by now. And I thought that was so fascinating and interesting, and just a testament to something that I like to highlight and underscore: the importance of owning your content, owning your IP at whatever level you're on, from zero listenership and readership to millions and millions and millions of listeners and or readership. Because ultimately, if something does pop off in the direction of being financially viable, why not have your situation set up in a way where you didn't give away the rights, you didn't sell off the rights for a one-time fee or, the short-term bag, but you've created something valuable that can and will go on for decades after you're gone, and your kids and maybe even your kids' kids could benefit from it. Like, why not set it up that way? You know what I mean? But to each their own. Anyway, Jack Ryan is a dope series, and the official synopsis of the show is up-and-coming CIA analyst Jack Ryan is thrust into dangerous field assignments. And it stars John Krasinski from The Office, which when I first saw the show, I was like, I know him as like Jim from The Office. It's a comedy, and this is like a serious, CIA analyst guy. But it totally works, and it just shows like his range as an actor, in my opinion. Also starring Wendell Pierce. Shout out to Wendell Pierce. Shout out to The Wire. And Michael Kelly, who's a great like character actor. I think that's what you call a character actor. Shout out to House of Cards, where he played Doug. And as we like to do here on the Spun Today podcast, because if we don't do it here, then who will? Let's shout out the writers. First and foremost, Tom Clancy, of course, based on the characters that he created. Carlton Cuse, Graham Rowland, Joe Greskoviak, Jeff Kempler, Beta Nation, Aaron Rabin, Vaughn Wilmot, Stephen Kane, and Robert David Fort. Shout out to each and every one of the writers and creators of the series that put together this final fourth series finale. So like the synopsis says, if you're not familiar with the show, it all revolves around this genius CIA analyst. He's kind of like a desk analyst, research guy that winds up going into the field, and then you start finding out that, he can do the field as well. He has like a background being like a Navy SEAL, I think, or just like one of those like superhero type characters in shows. You know, they could do it all. Smartest guy in the room, toughest guy in the room. And I love shows like that because I could finally relate to someone. You know what I mean? Let me stop. But I definitely do enjoy those shows. You kind of like vicariously live through characters like that. And this final season, had to do with a drug cartel teaming up with a terrorist organization, and how that type of matchup would combine unlimited resources with like unbridled terror and hate, which is obviously a dangerous combination, especially when and if it's aimed towards the US, for example. Michael Pena is a big part of this final season as well. Another great actor. If you don't know him by name, he's the Spanish guy that is like in everything. When you see him, you'll be like, oh yeah, I know that guy. And in the very first episode, actually ends with a really dope scene where he is in Jack Ryan's apartment when Jack Ryan gets home with his girlfriend, and they get home from some event that they were at, and she's going to go take a shower or something. He's going to the fridge, and Michael Pena just points a gun to his head and tells him to turn Pluto back on. So at this point in the story, basically, Jack Ryan has ascended, and he's like assistant to the head of the CIA, like second in line. And they're getting a lot of pressure from the Senate to be more transparent and highlight programs within the CIA, like covert operations and stuff like that, because there had just been a coup/murder of a president in a country in Africa. And, you know, conspiracy theorists and folks were blaming the CIA as them having something to do with it. So a way that Jack Ryan and director Wright chose to deal with that was to turn off the funding for all these programs that you couldn't trace, or like where the money was going to and stuff like that. And one of these programs was Pluto, codename Pluto. And Michael Pena just shows up, puts a gun to Jack Ryan's head. Remember, Jack Ryan's like the badass, you know, handles everything, knows everything that's going on at all times. And here's this guy, apparently within the CIA as well, in his apartment with a gun to his head, telling him to turn the shit back on, turn the money back on for that operation. And we see Michael Pena's character in Mexico. Like, they show a few scenes of him there and like being a badass there. And as the viewer, we're kind of like, wait, is he CIA? Is he part of this cartel? Is he like a double agent? Like, what's up with him? And ultimately, we find out that he is in the CIA, but he's being used by the folks that are running the Pluto program, that are working with this, either the drug cartel and or the terrorist organization side, to try to facilitate what they have going on, and they're pretty much being paid off. And that's essentially what the season is all about. It has great fighting scenes, very suspenseful. There's like scenes with a helicopter. Oh, I'm sorry, with a plane that they're finally getting away. Jack Ryan's character is, and Mike November's, which is Michael Kelly's character, and Kathy Mueller, which is John Krasinski's, Jack Ryan's girlfriend, played by Abby Cornish, and Michael Pena's character. They're all like getting away from a situation that they're in, that they're flying out of, to take Chow Fa, the head of this drug organization. Or not the head, he was like the higher up, about to become the head, but he was turning against the organization and like speaking to the CIA to be able to get his wife and daughter out. So they're in this situation where they are about to get out of the country on this private plane. They load everybody up, but then Jack Ryan and Michael Pena themselves have to stay behind so the plane can fly off with Jack Ryan's girlfriend, Chow Fa's wife and daughter. Because you have like a ton of just like jeeps and with heavy machinery, machine guns, and a bunch of soldiers just like coming at them. So the plane can take off. They stayed down to like, you know, give them cover pretty much, and like shooting back at them. And then Michael Kelly's character, Mike November, just comes with a fucking helicopter and like mows down all the, like at the last second when you're like, how the fuck are they gonna get out of this? They're like in this open field, completely surrounded, they're fucked. And Mike November shows up in this helicopter, and with enough like weaponry to like hold them off and allow Jack Ryan and Michael Peña's character to get in the helicopter and get the fuck out of there. So it's like dope scenes like that. Acting director writes characters from Queens. Shout out to Queens. There's some dope scenes towards the end of the series where Jack Ryan actually gets captured and he's being tortured. You know, he's like tied up, he's being electrocuted, fucking whipped, and just like fucked up, like a sick torture scene. And to John Krasinski's credit, did a phenomenal job. It was like so believable. It's like a sick scene. Michael Peña is in this like bunker place where they have Jack Ryan. He like broke into it to save Jack Ryan, and there's a part where all he has is a spear gun, because that's what he can buy in terms of weaponry from like a villager that live close by. And he gets into this facility, and there's this guy guarding a door, and he's walking, he hears something, he's walking around with a gun, and Mike Peña fucking spear guns him in the dark. It was such a sick scene. And just wound up like fucking everybody up one by one, like John Wick style, to ultimately free Jack Ryan. And I like this show in particular because it's not like the bad guys in the show, they make you not relate to them, but they're written in such a way where I don't want to say you empathize with them, but they humanize them a bit. They're not like over the top, just like evil for evil's sake type bad guys. I think the best villains in stories, there's like something about them that you could relate to, or at least that you can sympathize with their rationale, whether you agree with it or not, for like doing certain things. And there's a few of those characters within this season, within the show in general, but within this season especially, like the ex-CIA guy that felt wronged, and he was like a hitman for hire basically for the bad guys. The Chow Faz character, which was the head of this drug organization and was doing it to get his wife and daughter out, and he killed his brother-in-law who was like onto him, so on and so forth. But yeah, really good show. It's definitely a fun watch. There's 4 seasons available on Amazon if you're interested. It's one of those that are just like action and entertaining and well written, in my opinion. And that is Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, available on Amazon.